All right, fam. OPEC, the organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, announced today they're going to be slashing oil output by 2 million barrels. That could mean a dramatic spike in gas prices in the final month before the election day. It will represent about of course, this will be the largest slowdown since the beginning of the pandemic. It represents about 2% of the world's supply. Now, during today's news conference at the White House, CNBC's Hadley asked Saudi Arabia's energy minister if the decision to cut oil production was a power play by Saudi Arabia. It wasn't at the White House, but it was in the news conference. Go ahead and play it.
Your Royal Highness, I want to kick off by asking you specifically a question that I asked to Vladimir Putin a year ago. Are you using energy as a weapon? It was a question that he denied, but there are people in Washington and in the White House who right now are looking at the cuts that OPEC Plus is making, and they are saying that this is an aggressive move by OPEC. And they're very, very curious to understand why this organization that they call a cartel is moving against the United States and Europe. And Mr. Secretary General, to follow on to that, when I spoke to you just a couple of months ago, you said you had an open door policy to European policymakers. Have they entered that door? Are you having those conversations with them? Because I have to tell you, there is a huge narrative coming from the West right now that OPEC, as you say, a band of brothers, but as they would say, a cartel, is attempting to hold the world hostage, just as Vladimir Putin has done when it comes to energy prices. Thank you, gentlemen.
Question, which I take pleasure of answering Hadley with a big answer. Show me where is the act of belligerence, period. Secretary General.
Your Royal Highness, and back to your question, yes, I did say we have an open door. We have an open door. I'm waiting for someone to knock on that door. That's all I can say.
And you're still not getting anyone knocking on that door? Because a lot of folks would say that by this action, by these cuts, you are endangering global energy markets, you are endangering the global economy. What's the response there, sirs?
If you permit me, Royal Highness, we are not endangering the energy markets. We are providing security, stability to the energy markets.
At a price.
Everything has a price. Energy security has a price as well.
All right, then, Robert. So the White House was not happy by this decision. They aggressively tried to get Saudi Arabia, get OPEC not to do this. Some people are saying, all right, Saudi Arabia, y'all want to make this move along with the other OPEC nations? Fine. Y'all ain't going to get no weapons y'all been asking for the United States. Look, gas is now, the average gas, according to AAA, is $3.83. If all of a sudden, because of this decision, gas goes up to $4.55, this could impact in a serious way the election November 9th. What do you think the American response should be? Should we say, fine, y'all raise the gas prices, we gonna hit you somewhere else?
Well, let's look at what this OPEC Plus is, as opposed to simply OPEC. OPEC, generally the Middle Eastern and Southern and South American nations, which were the original aspects. But then in the mid part of the last decade, they allowed Russia and other Central European nations to join OPEC. What Putin has been doing in the last 7 months of the war in Ukraine is using petroleum and hydrocarbons as a political tool to avert Western sanctions. We saw the bombing of the Nord Stream 1 pipeline last week to cut off gas flows into Germany and into Europe. We've seen the shutting down of Turk Stream, as well as the discontinuation of Nord Stream 2. European nations have been stockpiling hydrocarbons to get them through the winter. But a big portion of that was, one, getting liquefied natural gas from the United States of America, as well as getting petroleum from Middle Eastern nations. Now, what more than likely happened is Russia decided to pull a power move as part of OPEC Plus and negotiate to have the raising of these energy prices, the United States has already gone to Venezuela and made them an offer to reduce U.S. sanctions that were put in place by the Trump regime against Maduro when they were attempting to replace him with Juan Guaido during the last administration, reducing those sanctions in order to allow Venezuela to make up that stopgap. And remember, 60% of U.S. petroleum actually comes from Canada. So what we're talking about is something that won't directly affect America, but will affect other nations, creating a market speculation flow that will raise prices here. What has to happen going forward is, one, doubling down on our investment in green energy. We've been held hostage by Middle Eastern petro states for the last 60 years. When Republicans stand up and say we are against the Green New Deal, we're against electric cars, etc., what they're really saying is our funders are Exxon, Chevron, BP, and Mobil, and they've told us to be against this technology. The United States can be completely energy independent by switching to green technology by 2035. We've already seen every major automaker in the United States say that they will have a completely green fleet before the end of the decade. As long as we continue to fight these fights in the Middle East, fight these wars over foreign oil, have an entire energy economy dependent on countries that don't like us, we're going to be going existential crisis to crisis. I think the Biden administration needs to come out strongly on this and say that we will no longer kowtow to Middle Eastern madmen and simply say we're going to be redoubling our efforts. We've already passed the biggest investment in climate change in the nation's history in the Skinny Build Back Better bill. Well, we need to push through the rest of the energy agenda, get more charging stations, get more battery technology, more subsidies for the purchase of electric vehicles, so we can simply tell the Saudis and the rest of the OPEC cartel, figure out your stuff somewhere else. But until we're able to do that, we'll continue fighting these battles year after year and be at the whims of these cartels in Central and the Middle East and in Central and South America.
But the problem we have, Monique, is very simple. Look, you're from Galveston, Texas. Galveston to Houston is significant when it comes to the petrochemical industry. The reality is when gas prices go up, oil companies rake in record profits. When the price of oil, West Texas crude, goes down, then they are not making enough money. One of the reasons they are fighting green technology, because guess what? They ain't going to be making the same level of money. America, it comes down to the money. And so the reason folks have been fighting green technology is because they simply want to keep the checks flowing just as they are. And they don't want any stoppage in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is happening, I mean, you could see in the interview just kind of the laissez-faire just attitude of APEC Plus, and it's because they know that it's a hijacking. I mean, they know that it really is a carjacking, it's a stick up. And I believe that in terms of the way that the United States views it and the United States views the oil industry, it's going to be the same as what happened with coal. And are we going to wait until we are solutionless, or will we embrace all of the things that Robert said and kind of see the writing on the wall and do something about it? And then the other thing, I interviewed a couple of weeks ago Secretary of Energy Granholm, and she was talking about, how all of the solutions, frankly, are costly. Like what President Biden did in order to bring the prices down and releasing the reserves, that's not sustainable. It might have to happen again so that the middle class and so the poor people who are trying to get to work don't suffer at the hands of what APEC is doing. But none of those solutions are sustainable. The only thing that we really have is the long game that Robert described.
But unfortunately, Scott, America doesn't believe in the long game. America likes the short-term memory. It's sort of like the stock market. Hey, let's see that stock price go up based upon the quarterly earnings every 3 months. Unfortunately, that's how we look at it when it comes to technology. China's playing the long game. We're not.
Yeah, no, I agree with the panelists. But there is one question I would raise. If the U.S. is self-reliant and produces more oil for itself than what it gets from OPEC or what it gets from Western Europe or what it gets from Ukraine, if that's the case, then there is an argument to be made that while this is going to hurt Western Europe and those countries that rely on Russia and Saudi Arabia, America should be less affected by it, although they'll probably have to release more and more of their reserve. And if they do that to keep prices down, the Democrats may have a chance in the midterms. Any reaction from you or the panel about that argument?
We're not
Scott, go ahead, Monique.
Hold on. Hold up. Monique, go, then Robert.
No, I was just answering the first part, the premise of self-reliance. We are not self-reliant, and it's not a sustainable future where all of the oil that we need for all purposes comes from us. Do we have reserves in the millions? Yes, but like I said, that too is not sustainable. So kicking it to Junior Counsel Patu, smarter than all of it.
Produce a lot that we rely on.
Yes, a lot
more than ever before.
Hold on. Wait. Can't nobody hear when you're over talking. Robert, go.
Well, Scott, remember that in the U.S., we don't have a nationalized energy market. So the corporations that pump this oil are able to trade and sell that oil on the international market. Americans are exceedingly spoiled when it comes to fuel prices. I think anybody who travels knows this, that it's $3+ a gallon here in the United States of America. Right now in Western Europe, gas is about $10 a liter. In Japan, you're looking at something like $12 to $16 a liter for gasoline. And when it comes to these international markets, what the U.S. producers are saying is, look, in 2020, y'all weren't going nowhere. We were losing money. In 2021, y'all weren't going nowhere. We were losing money. Now y'all want to go somewhere, so I can double, triple, or quadruple the price on the international market. So even if we produced as much oil as Saudi Arabia did right now, we will still be at the whims of the international commodity market. And as you said, China, their big thing is they import almost 80% of their hydrocarbon energy, which is why they have a national mandate to go completely green by the year 2035. Right now, they know that the national security issue. All of their oil comes through the Straits of Hormuz, where the United States has a base at Diego Garcia and also forces stationed there in Kuwait. It comes through the Straits of Malacca, where the United States has forces in the Philippines and also in Guadalcanal. It comes through the Straits of Singapore, where the United States also has a military presence. Then it comes to the Straits of Taiwan, where we have the military presence in Japan at Osaka and also in South Korea. So in their strategic defense model, they know they have to get off of the fossil fuel to be able to have economic stability and a military presence going forward. That's actually what ended up killing Japan and Germany in World War II. It wasn't the Allies. They both ran out of gas. But the United States right now, until and unless we are willing to get off of this drug of hydrocarbons, we will continue to always have to fight wars in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, in Iraq, and Venezuela in order to get that. And we have to push back against that fossil fuel energy lobbying apparatus, because we could have been off of this 20 years ago when Al Gore was talking about it. We've continued to kick the can down the road, and that's why we're still at the whims of dictators around the globe.
Did you really quote Al Gore? My man. All right. Anyway, I agree.
Yeah, because it's Al Gore's internet. But Roland, if I could, I just want to say that there is a program available. If you go to whitehouse.gov, or if you go to the Energy Department's division under the whitehouse.gov umbrella, there are programs available for used vehicles, for used electric vehicles with government subsidy for you to be able to afford them. And they are not nearly as expensive as people think they are. So I'm, again, solution oriented. The solution for you and your house for where things are going right now, if you're about to get another vehicle, if your baby's on the last leg, think it through, because for the same money with subsidy that you would have to get on a car that you're then going to have to pay $100 plus in gas in order to get your kids to school and get to work. There are other options available.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Peace.